All right, joined now by Ku Khahil. He's the host of Locked On Pistons. Thank you so much, Ku, for hopping on. Really appreciate you taking the time. Let's talk about Detroit. Let's talk about not a great start to the season. It felt like it was going to be a good start with a 2-1 record, and honestly, it just turned to 2-10 really quickly, didn't it?
Yeah, things definitely went south very, very quickly, and it has the potential because of the upcoming schedule to really spiral out of control, which was definitely not how the Pistons wanted this to go.
Yeah, it's too bad. 23rd in net rating, 23rd in offense, 22nd in defense. Just feels really below average across the board in a lot of ways. I think the numbers are a little bit better than what the record suggests. It's just like the actual kind of clutch time stuff and finishing off games has been it's tougher in some aspects, but there have also been some blowouts here and there. Cade's numbers have been both good and bad, I think, depending on who you ask. Some of the actual points and assist numbers and leading the team have been pretty good. Some of the efficiency numbers have been pretty bad. How do you help him out? What's been the story behind Cade's return to the court?
It's been a very toxic time in the Pistons community because of what's going on with Cade. So the starting lineup that the Detroit Pistons opened up the season with was Cade, Killian Hayes, Ausar Thompson, Isaiah Stewart, and Jalen Duren. The whole idea behind that was to go defense first. Troy Weaver has talked about building a defensive identity, getting back to what the Pistons are supposed to be about when they won games or won championships and stuff. And Monte Williams has done nothing but echo that. So it made sense at that point. Like, okay, it seems like they're really they're being serious. They're not just talking about it. They, for real, are saying defense is going to be a big deal for them. So obviously that meant they didn't start Jay and Ivy. Bojan Bogdanovic is hurt. Monte Morris was hurt. But that was the lineup they went with. And they started off 2-1. And it was honestly, it looked promising because of the play of Cade and then the play of Jalen Duren, who, if the Pistons wanted to go defense first, their only chance of doing so was with Jalen Duren healthy. And once Jalen Duren got hurt in game 4, everything's now went out of control. And that's one of the main reasons why it's killed Cade efficiency-wise. Is one, he doesn't have his lob threat, his pick and roll partner, which is what they did a lot in the first 3 games. He doesn't have that guy. When he has played, he hasn't been healthy. He's hurt it twice trying to play through it. Jalen Duren, that is, his ankle, which is not good.
Not good.
So doesn't have his pick and roll partner. And by going defense first in the starting lineup without the guy that's really going to make it defensive first, you're then basically just playing a lineup that doesn't make sense at that point. Like with Jalen Duren, it's like, okay, you have good defenders in front of him. He's going to be a great rim protector. He was that through the first 3 games. It looked like he was making this insane jump at 19 years old. It was like, oh my God, he's averaging like 2.5 blocks a game. He's averaging like 16 rebounds a game. The dude's carrying. And the defense was working. But then once he got hurt, now you're just playing a bunch of guys who can't shoot. Or Killian Hayes is actually shooting 38% over the last 9 games. Stu is shooting 44% from 3 this year. The problem is that these guys hitting open shots, it sounds really weird to say this for people listening probably, but those guys hitting open shots like defenses are taking that as a win. Like they just because they're hitting open shots doesn't mean they have gravity with their shots. The defenses are choosing that's who they want to take the open shots because they don't respect them. And everyone's just sitting in the paint on Cade. So you have Killian's defender helping off. You have Isaiah Stewart's defender helping off. Ausar Thompson, who we'll talk about soon. Ausar Thompson's guy helping off. Marvin Bagley, who's been playing for Jalen Duren, his guy obviously not respecting him at 3. So Cade's really, since Duren went down and got hurt in the game 4, he's dealing with a lineup that has no spacing and no gravity outside of him, and he's attracting the entire defense anytime he puts the ball on the ground. Last thing I'll say is that there was a game against Atlanta, or actually not Atlanta, the game before Atlanta, team played a 2-3 zone, and it was basically a double Cade with 3 people in the backside zone at the top of the key. Every time Cade got the ball at the top of the key, they just played up and took the ball away from him, played aggressive as I've ever seen someone play at the nail, and said, if you're going to hit the guy at the wing and have him hit a 3, so be it. Like, it's going to happen, but you're not going to beat us. And that's the kind of coverages he's been dealing with, and it's killing his efficiency.
Yeah, I know that there has been a lot of discussion about, man, can he be the guy if he's not efficient enough? Can he be the guy if things are not running well when he's running the keys? I don't subscribe to that at all. I think that there are some things that he can help himself in some ways, but at some point the Pistons are going to have to help him by playing the right people. And this Ivy situation has been odd. Everything about it has been just very crazy. I know Killian is your guy in some ways, but he just doesn't really make a lot of sense if you're playing a lineup with Ausar Thompson and Cade Cunningham and hopefully Jalen Duren at that point. So I'm going to ask you, let's do it now. Build me your ideal lineup around Cade, Ausar, and Jalen Duren.
So I'm glad you asked me this. I do want to buffer your point that you said at the beginning of this, is that I said this on the podcast literally yesterday, Locked On Pistons. Cade, I think, is going to be a superstar. I think he's going to be absolutely fantastic. I love him. But he's not one yet. He's not that good yet. He's not that good of a player right now, and that's okay to say. He needs help. People are saying that, like, oh, well, great players, they make their teammates better. They can get through this kind of stuff. Cade's not great yet. He's 22.
It takes time. And like, even for a guy like Jokic, for a guy like LeBron, it took time for those guys to get there. And Cade missed his entire second season. People have to be more patient with this dude and don't try to box him in with like in a phone booth and then expect him to make magic out of mincemeat.
Right. So that's just, I want to make that clear. Like, yes, I think Cade's going to be great in the long term, but his team still needs to help him when he's not yet. Like, he's still growing. He is still developing himself, and his team needs to help him. So my ideal starting lineup, it really just depends, because if the Pistons want to keep some semblance of like defense, then it's tough. It's going to be tough to do so. If you wanted me to build like the best lineup that just offensively best optimizes Cade with what they have, which is what it seems like a lot of people would like them to do, makes sense. He's a franchise player. Makes sense.
Sure.
I'd probably go Cade, Ivy. If everyone's healthy, I'd go Cade, Ivy, Ausar, or Cade, Ivy, Bojan, Ausar, put Ausar at the 4, and then Duren. That's probably the lineup I'd go with. I'd experiment possibly with like a Cade, Ivy, Livers, Ausar, Duren, because then Livers has much better team defender, a good shooter as well on the wing, sneaky, athletic. So he's not going to bring the same type of gravity Bojan is, but he's going to bring some gravity while not being as a bad defender like Bojan is. I'd experiment with that. And something I think you're probably going to see, Monte did say today that he's going to be tinkering with stuff to get Cade more spacing on the floor. Based off the things he's said lately, and based off the evidence of what he's been trying, you've been seeing him slowly start to use Cade in the last 2 games. I think there's a good chance. Now, people don't go crazy on me. I'm just the messenger here. But I think there's a slight chance that you might see something like Ivy, Killian, Cade, Ausar, Duren, or a 3-guard lineup with Cade, and play him off ball and have multiple ball handlers around him to maintain some defense and get Ivy on the floor, who can really collapse defenses and really cause pressure off ball. I don't think it's likely that happens, but we've seen them now play 3-guard lineups a lot the last few games with Killian, Cade, whether it's Killian, Cade, Sasser, Killian, Cade, Ivy. And I think that is just a slight chance to throw out there. It's a possible chance, but I do think my pick, if I had to pick one, I'd go Cade, Ivy, Bojan, Ausar, Duren, when they're all healthy.
Yeah, and I think that makes sense. And I think there's the logic of add a stretch 4, add somebody who can like combination with a rim rolling 5 makes a lot of sense. And then you've got your defense, all defense guy in Ausar. And then you probably need some sort of combo guard next to Cade, somebody who can handle the ball a little bit, can play off the ball a little bit. It's why this Ivy situation to me has been so odd, because to me it feels so logical for him to be out there and for them to learn how to play together. But c'est la vie. That's not what's going to happen clearly, and or maybe it will, and maybe this is something that Monte's kind of slow playing. Let me ask you this: when can we expect Bojan and Monte Morris back? Because I feel like there have been conflicting reports and non-reports about it.
So the report that we got, that the PR team sent out 4 weeks ago, I believe it was October 25th or somewhere. Yeah, October 24th or 25th, I believe. They said in 3 to 4 weeks, you'd get an update or reevaluation on Bojan. In 3 to 4 weeks, you get a reevaluation on Monte Morris, and you get a reevaluation on Isaiah Livers. Now, today, Isaiah Livers was practicing, so that sounds like he's getting pretty close to coming back. We have not heard anything on Bojan, and we heard that Monte Morris still did not practice today. That's all we've gotten. I think Livers will come back soon, within the next week probably. I think he's probably coming back soon. Um, the Monte Morris and Bojan Bogdanovic situation, and heck, even throw Alec Burks situation in there as well. It's really going to be an interesting thing to watch for the next month, I'd say. Because I'm not saying this is likely. I wouldn't bet my money on this. But there is definitely, like, there's pathways. There's this tiny pathway. If you squint, like through the forest with, it's very hidden. There's a pathway where Bojan just doesn't play for the Pistons this year. Like, he gets traded before he even, like, puts on the Pistons uniform again. I think there's a slight chance. I don't think it's as likely at all. But there is a slight chance that maybe Monte Morris gets traded within the next month. Same thing with Alec Burks. It's just a very weird situation. Maybe not weird, interesting situation going on right now, because the Pistons, when they got Monte Morris, it was to replace basically Killian Hayes. But they kept Killian around to try to prove if he actually developed this offseason. I heard he had a strong offseason. The front office heard about it. They gave him a chance in preseason to show it. He played really well in preseason, so he got the start to start the year. First 2 games didn't go well. Last 9 games, he's averaging like 10 and 6 on 43-38 splits. So he's playing well last 9 games. So now you find yourself in this position of, oh, he actually has played decent. Like, he actually has gotten better. And the guy we just replaced him with, or we got him to replace him, is hurt, and he's coming back. So now what do we do? Like, we can't play both of them. So who's trading? Are we getting rid of one of them? Are we sitting one on the bench? Same thing with Bojan. Bojan was going to start this year, but he was hurt. So now Ausar's starting. And now we're seeing how great Ausar, like how amazing Ausar is. So now what happens? Like, Bojan comes back, and is the whole defensive mindset now going out the window? Is Bojan coming back to the starting lineup? Is Bojan going to get traded now? Like, and then they have the issue of not having a backup 5 now with Duren being out.
To be clear, like, the logical solution to that is to start Bojan at the 4 and let Isaiah Stewart back up at the 5. Why is that not really a consideration? It seems kind of
that's
odd.
what I would. Yes, that's what I would do. I'd play Stu as the backup 5 and start Duren. But specifically when Duren's been out, I mean, they don't even trust James Wiseman. They just won't play. Like, the first game Duren was out, they just didn't play Wiseman. They wouldn't play him. Second game, they tried to play him and then just didn't play him in the second half. He had a fine stint this past game, but they clearly don't trust Wiseman as the third big. So without Duren, you're like stacked up on all these guards that are coming back healthy, and you're like, oh, how is this? Like, where are we going to fit these minutes? Meanwhile, you don't have enough centers for all the jokes Weaver has gotten over the last few years of loving big men. Now all of a sudden they don't have 5s. So it's a very, very interesting situation. I don't know when they're coming back. Liver should be back soon. They should be getting really evaluated if the report was true, what we got. They should be getting really evaluated at some point this week, and we should get some kind of update soon.
Look, I can understand why this team is 2-10. When your veterans are out and you're playing a bunch of young guys and you're trying to figure out, and guys are kind of out of position and it's a little bit uncomfortable, obviously it's logical why they're 2-10. They've got to start showing something together at some point, and this is what this year is all about. I remember the Orlando Magic started last year pretty badly, and then they figured it out, and they started playing together, and they developed some chemistry, and lo and behold, you start to see the vision with that group. This group does have that potential to do it too, and I think we should wrap it up with this. Ausar Thompson, we've talked around him a little bit. The dude is so fun to watch, and I know Thinking Basketball, Ben Taylor, he put out an awesome Ausar Thompson video that everybody should go check out. I am blown away by the movement, by the athleticism, and by the feel. Like, he looks like the next great defensive player.
He's fantastic, dude. Like, there's nothing else. Like, I can't. Now, he obviously still has stuff he has to develop. He doesn't have a jumper right now. Like, he still has to get better. His finishing with his footwork on his drives and his finishes need to get better. It'll help his finishing. So there's areas he needs to improve on. He's a rookie, obviously. But, I mean, this is a guy I've been high on since before the draft. This is who I wanted the Pistons to draft. I love both him and his brother. I don't think there's, like, outside him and Amen, I don't know how many athletes you'd say there are better than them, athleticism-wise, in the NBA. Like, it'd be hard to find one. And him defensively, it's just crazy. He makes plays defensively that are just like, you should not be able to do that. He'll get beat off the dribble. You think a guy has a step on him, and like that, he's back in front of him. He's back in front of him. He's blocking their shot. He's blocking jump shots, step back jump shots from Damian Lillard. He's completely shutting down SGA. Like, and I watched the thing in basketball video too. It was a fantastic breakdown. Ausar has been fantastic defensively. Most rookies are bad defensively, but he's like not just good for a rookie. Like I've been saying on the podcast, I'm not even joking. Like there's a possibility he might be like a top 10 defender right now, like through the first 11 games, 12 games. Like that's how crazy defensively he's been. And then you talked about his feel. His feel is off the charts. High IQ player, plays the right way, isn't trying to take 30 shots, 20 shots a game, just trying to make the right play all the time. Crazy vision, crazy transition playmaker. Kind of reminds me of Lonzo in transition. Like there's so much to like about this dude. It's just he's proven, I think already through 12 games, he's not going to be just a piece for the. He's one of their cornerstones. Like he is right there with Cade and Duren as a cornerstone piece. Like he is going to be a rock of this team.
Get healthy. Play Cade, Jalen, and Duren, or Cade, Jalen, and Ausar together. Find some shooting. Like it should not be this hard. This can really turn around, and I have zero reason to doubt that Detroit can make this happen. They can do this, and this could turn into something really fun really quickly. But some tough moves may have to be made, and I hope that Monte Williams is the right guy to do it. So we will see. He is Ku Khahli, host of the Locked On Pistons podcast. Everybody, make sure to go give him a follow. Make sure to go check out his work over at Locked On Pistons. Ku, thank you so much for checking in with me. I'll talk to you in 6 weeks, all right?
Appreciate you, man.